What would change if you stop waiting to be chosen and start choosing yourself? Stay tuned for a powerful reflection on self trust for women and why the life you want doesn't require anyone else's approval. Welcome back to the Resilient MD, the podcast and YouTube channel where we have honest conversations about medicine, burnout, resilience, and how to care for others without losing ourselves in the process. I'm Dr. Arona McDowell, your host, a certified life coach, allergist, and firm believer that small changes can create massive ripple effects. I am so glad you're here today because we're talking about something that has the power to change the trajectory of your life in ways both big and small. Many women spend years waiting for the right moment, the right circumstance, or the right person's approval before allowing themselves to move forward. But what if the permission you've been waiting for was never supposed to come from someone else? Last week, we talked about something many women struggle to admit, that they want something different. Not because they are ungrateful, not because they have failed, not because their current life is objectively bad, but because they have evolved. And today, I want to explore what often happens immediately after that realization. Because once a woman starts acknowledging what she wants, another thought usually appears. But am I allowed to? Am I allowed to work less, say no, disappoint someone, leave something that no longer fits, want more, want different? And what I've noticed is that many women spend years waiting for something that never arrives. A permission slip, someone else's blessing, someone else's approval, someone else's reassurance that their needs are valid. The problem is that permission slips rarely arrived in the mail. Over the years, I've noticed that women live in what I call the waiting room of their own lives. Not because they lack intelligence, not because they lack courage, but because they are waiting for certainty, waiting for approval, waiting for the perfect time, waiting for everyone else to understand, waiting for someone to tell them, it's okay, you can do this now. The irony is that many of these women are incredibly accomplished. They've earned degrees, built careers, raised families, led teams, managed crises. Yet, when it comes to their own happiness, they suddenly feel like they need someone else's signature, someone else's endorsement, someone else's permission. The worst thing is that this does not start in adulthood. I have noticed many of us learn this very early. Good girls are rewarded for being agreeable, being helpful, being considerate, following the rules, making life easier for others. And those qualities can be beautiful. But over time, they can create a habit, looking outward before looking inward. Before making a decision, we start asking, what will they think? How will they feel? Will they approve? Will they understand? Will they be disappointed? And after years of practicing this pattern, we begin outsourcing authority over our own lives. Not intentionally, just habitually. This dynamic becomes especially pronounced in medicine. Medicine is hierarchical by design. Throughout training, someone is always evaluating you. An attending, a professor, a program director, a board examiner. You become accustomed to external validation. You learn that advancement comes from approval. You learn to seek feedback, you learn to seek evaluation. And while those skills are useful professionally, they can quietly follow us into adulthood and into our personal lives. Many physicians become extraordinarily skilled at meeting expectations, but much less practiced at asking, what do I think? What do I want? What feels right for me? And eventually, some women find themselves waiting for permission to make decisions about their own lives, decisions that no one else can truly make for them. If we're being honest, most women aren't actually waiting for permission. They are really waiting for protection. They're hoping someone will guarantee that they won't regret it, that no one will be disappointed, that everyone will understand, that everything will work out perfectly. Because change feels risky, especially when you're responsible, especially when people depend on you, especially when you've spent your entire life being reliable. But the reality is, no one can provide that guarantee. Not a spouse, not a friend, not a mentor, not a coach. And realizing that can feel both terrifying and liberating in a way. There was a moment during my own transition out of clinical medicine when I realized something profound. No one was coming to tell me what to do. No one was going to appear and say, Anna, you've worked hard enough now. Anna, you've earned that right to slow down. Anna, it's okay to want something different. Anna, everyone will understand. That conversation never came. And looking back, it is so interesting that I spent a long time wishing it would, because external permission feels safer than self permission. But eventually, I realized that waiting was keeping me stuck. Not because I lacked awareness, believe me, I knew, but because I was waiting for someone else to validate what I already knew. Before we move on, I want to pause for a moment. I'm curious, have you been feeling exhausted, discouraged, or frustrated and not quite sure why? Are you quietly wondering if this is just how life in medicine has to be? Well, I see you. You don't have to give up on yourself or your dreams. And the good news is that you don't have to figure it all out alone. I built a 6-week one-on-one coaching program designed to help women physicians gently remove the barriers keeping them stuck and rediscover clarity, balance, and purpose. It is called the Resilient MD, just like the podcast and YouTube channel. If you are ready, you can begin today. Schedule your free clarity call. The link is in the show's notes. One of the biggest misconceptions about self-trust is that it arrives fully formed. That one day you will simply wake up feeling completely confident, completely certain, completely fearless. But that's not how self-trust works. Self-trust is built one small decision at a time. Every time you listen to yourself, honor a boundary, acknowledge a need, tell yourself the truth, you strengthen that relationship. Not because the decision is perfect, but because you're practicing believing yourself. And to be fair, that's what many women have been missing. Not confidence, the practice. This may be one of the hardest truths in today's episode. Sometimes the people around you won't fully understand your choices, not because they don't love you, but because they're viewing your life through their own experiences, fears, expectations, and values. And if you are waiting for universal approval before honoring yourself, you may wait forever. At some point, maturity requires accepting that being understood and being aligned are not always the same thing. Sometimes people understand, sometimes they don't. Your responsibility is not to manage everyone's interpretation of your life. Your responsibility is to live it. Let's talk about one of the biggest fears women carry, the fear that choosing themselves is selfish. I hear this constantly. Women worry that setting boundaries is selfish, wanting more is selfish, resting is selfish, changing directions is selfish. But there is a difference between selfishness and self respect. Selfishness ignores others, while self respect includes yourself. Many women have spent decades including everyone except themselves, and eventually that becomes unsustainable. You deserve to exist in the equation too. So, if you've been waiting for permission, if you've been waiting for certainty, if you've been waiting for validation, I want to offer you something today. Not as your coach, not as your physician colleague, not as an expert, but as another woman who understands how difficult this can be. Here it is. You are allowed. Yes. You are allowed to change your mind, want something different. You're allowed to need more rest, to create boundaries. You are allowed to disappoint expectations, to choose peace. You're allowed to redefine success, to build a life that fits you better. Not because someone else approved it, but because it is your life and because permission was never theirs to give. As we close today, I want to leave you with one more thought. Many women spend years waiting to be chosen. Chosen for their opportunity, chosen for the promotion, chosen for the validation, chosen for the permission. But perhaps this season is asking something different of you. Perhaps it is asking, what if I chose myself? Not selfishly, not recklessly, not all at once, but honestly, because self trust begins the moment we stop waiting for someone else to hand us permission to become who we already know we are meant to be. Remember, my wings grow when I listen. Now, if you found this helpful, please pass it along to a colleague who could benefit from it. In the next episode, we'll discuss why women physicians struggle to rest without guilt. If that sounds like you or someone you know, you will not want to miss it. Subscribe and join me for the next episode. If you've been feeling emotionally exhausted from constantly being the dependable one, I think this guide will really speak to you. It is my free people pleasing in medicine reflection guide. It's for women physicians learning how to care deeply without disappearing from their own lives. You can get it at the link in the description below. If this video helped you in any way, I would be so grateful if you take a moment to leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcast or your favorite platform and give this video a like on YouTube. It is a small gesture that makes a huge difference. And if you feel very giving, please also leave a comment. That also goes a long way. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your honesty. And thank you for giving yourself permission to consider that your life belongs to you too. I'm Dr. Anna McDowell, a resilient MD just like you. I'll see you next week.